Here is a select statement that looks at all of the locations and the employees that work there. And it looks like we have a total of 13 matching records on this inner join. Let's stream this as XML in a new mode known as path. Let's find all fields and let's see what this looks like. Is it more like raw or is it more like auto? What does it have of its own? Well, much like raw, it looks like each row has a row tag. But unlike raw, notice that this defaults to putting all of the data in elements. Let's itemize our fields. So we just get city, first name of the employee, and their last name. Let's rerun this query. And let's take a look at the results. Looks pretty much the same. Row with nested field values, and only the 3 fields we specified. Our next goal is to change it so that there is a root tag called employees. That's pretty straightforward, and it's the same thing we've done previously. Just put the root option and specify the name in the parentheses. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's take a look. Our root is now present, and our root is called employees. Okay, let's close this. What we want to do is we no longer want the rows to be called row. We want to give it our own name. We want the employee row to be underneath the employees root element. So let's run this, take a look, and notice we have the employees root, and each top-level node is called employee. Our next goal will be to take this city tag and throw it up inside of the employee top-level tag as an attribute. All we need to do is alias the city field as, and then put an @ for attribute, and specify the name we want the attribute to be. Let's run this, check our results. Notice city is now an attribute child of employee instead of an element child of employee. Let's close this and get to our next goal. We've already put the city name attribute as a child of the employee element. Now we want the first name element to just be called first, and the last name element to just be called last. We're just gonna create another field alias after the first name field in the select list, but we're not gonna use an @ symbol. We're just gonna use the name we want because it defaults to elements. Let's run this. Let's take a look. Notice first name is no longer called first name. It's called first. Now last name is still called last name. So let's go ahead and repeat the process. Let's alias this field, and remember, using the as keyword and aliasing is optional. This time I'm not doing it. Let's go ahead and check our results. Aha! Look at that. It says first and last. Now look really closely at this next goal. Instead of having first and last becoming element children of the employee top-level element, we want to see name as a child of the top-level element, with first and last elements being children under the name element. We can add levels by putting a / before the element name. Let's repeat this with the last name. Let's go ahead and run this. Let's check our results. And notice our goal has been achieved. First and last elements are directly under the name element, which is a child of the employee top-level element. We still have our employees as the root. Time for Lab 2.2, Skill Check 1. Create an XML stream by selecting the emp ID, first name, and last name fields from the employee table. Call your root HR and your top-level element employee. The emp ID field and its value should be an attribute of the employee element. The tags should be fname for the first name field and lname for the last name field. Your results should resemble the figure you see here. Skill Check 2. Create an XML stream by selecting the grant ID, grant name, and amount fields from the grant table. Make sure your root is called Charity and your top-level element is called Grants. The grant ID and grant name fields and their values should be attribute children of the grants element. The value of the amount field should be an element under the grants element. When you're done, your results should resemble the figure you see here. Skill Check 3. Create an XML stream using the current products table's fields, product ID, product name, category, and retail price. Call your root Products and call your top-level element Product. The product ID and price field values should be inside the product element as two child attributes. The value for the product name field should be an element under the product element and named pname. The value for the product category field should be an element under the product element and be named pcat. When you're done, your results should resemble the figure you see here. Skill Check 4. Create an XML stream by selecting the emp ID, manager ID, first name, and last name fields from the employee table. The root should be called JProCo and the top-level element called employee. Set the emp ID as an attribute called ID in the top-level element. The manager ID should appear below the top-level element and be called boss ID. First name and last name should appear under a custom element named name. When you're done, your results should resemble the figure you see here.